On a business trip, I casually opened the surveillance feed from home only to discover my husband locked in a sweaty battle on the sofa with his cousin. Oh, Robert, you're amazing. Aw, darling, you're even better. So much younger than that old hag. Not only that, but for fear of us getting caught, he indirectly caused the deaths of my daughter and his father. Oh, Robert, you're amazing. Aw, darling, you're even better. So much younger than that old hag. Heavy panting came through the surveillance feed. I stared at the screen, my stomach churning. My colleague next to me noticed my discomfort. Nicole, are you all right? I'm fine, I managed to choke out the words. Ignoring my colleague's stares, I stopped the taxi and dry heaved by the side of the road. I can't go. I really don't feel well. You guys go ahead. With that, I grabbed my suitcase from the trunk and rushed home. I opened the door, startling mother-in-law Eleanor, who was humming leisurely in the living room. Nicole, why are you back? Didn't you just leave for a business trip? She quickly grabbed my arm and shouted towards the bedroom. I pushed mother-in-law Eleanor aside and stormed towards the bedroom. Opening the bedroom door, the air was thick with the scent of recent intimacy. My husband, Robert, was frantically pulling up his pants, while his cousin, Ashley, stood frozen, her clothes disheveled and her face a picture of distress. The lingerie lay brazenly on the bed, and the male enhancement pills on the nightstand were glaringly obvious. This useless man, he needs pills just to get it up to cheat. And he dares to mess around with women? Especially his own cousin. Wife, it's not what you think. Let me explain. Robert's face turned pale. I didn't speak. I just picked up the bag in my hand and threw it at him with all my might. Robert! Robert! Mother-in-law Eleanor and Ashley, in a show of surprising synchronicity, rushed to Robert's side, anxiously checking his forehead. It was as if they were the family, and I was just a lunatic who had burst in from the outside. Seeing all this, I completely lost control. I grabbed everything I could find and hurled them at Robert's head. The sharp corners of the metal candlestick instantly left Robert's head bleeding profusely. Mother-in-law Eleanor screamed, trying to stop me. Stop smashing! You'll kill him! Seeing that I had no intention of stopping, mother-in-law Eleanor shrieked, haven't you caused enough death with Lily and Robert's father? Now you won't even spare my son? Hearing my daughter Lily's name, all the strength suddenly drained from my body. My arms fell limply to my sides. I glanced at the bloodied, pathetic Robert, standing beside him the tearful Ashley with a look of concern, and the heartbroken mother-in-law Eleanor. Divorce! I gritted out these two words, then turned and left. Wandering dazedly through the streets, I found myself at the old house where I used to live with my daughter. The crabapple trees in the yard swayed in the wind, the lawn was perfectly manicured, the entire garden was exquisitely beautiful. Children's laughter drifted from a distance, making me feel as though I was seeing my deceased daughter, Lily, again in a trance. The scene was so warm it broke my heart. Just as I was about to turn and leave, I heard a voice calling out behind me. Ms. Davis? I turned around and saw Sarah, the buyer of the old house. Ms. Davis, I thought it was you from a distance. Won't you come in for a bit? Sarah greeted me warmly. No, I have something to do. I turned my head away. In my current state, I couldn't bear to face anything too beautiful. All right. Your complexion doesn't look good, Ms. Davis. You should get more rest. Oh, a few days ago, when we just moved in, your husband called and asked if we'd seen an earring in the bedroom. He made clean today and actually found it. Sarah said, handing me an earring. I glanced at it. It was a Van Cleef Arpels platinum earring. I thought about it. I did have a pair of earrings like this, but they should have been in my jewelry box. How did one end up in the bedroom of the old house? But I didn't think much of it then. I took the earring and left in a hurry. I had calmed down enough. It was time to go home and finalize the divorce with Robert. Back at home, Robert and mother-in-law Eleanor were sitting primly in the living room. The so-called cousin, Ashley, was nowhere to be seen. Robert had a thick bandage wrapped around his head. Seeing me enter, he immediately stood up. Nicole, you're back. Let me explain, he said, coming towards me with a panicked look. Mother-in-law Eleanor glared at me. If you hadn't been so set on not having another child, none of this would have happened. I stared at mother-in-law Eleanor. How long had Lily been dead? She was already so eager to find a woman for her son to have an heir for the family, and in a way that destroyed our marriage. But mother-in-law Eleanor didn't seem to think there was anything wrong with it. She spoke even more imperiously. Since you've seen it, I'll be direct. Ashley isn't a distant relative. She's the future mother I've picked out for my grandson. When other people lose a child, they just have another one. Why do you insist on adoption? You're going to raise someone else's child anyway. Once Ashley gives birth, you can just raise that one. I was so angered by this old woman's absurd idea that I laughed. Then I turned to Robert and asked, "Is this what you think too?" "Wife, it is my idea." "What, you killed my granddaughter and Robert's father, and you've beaten Robert like this? What more do you want?" Mother-in-law Eleanor rushed forward, positioning herself between Robert and me, roaring with murderous intent. "Wife, what happened with Lily and Dad was indeed your fault. Mom is right, we can have another one. Get out! Get lost!" I cut Robert off angrily. After driving out that shameless mother and son, my heart was icy cold. A month ago, Lily and my father-in-law were hit by a truck and died instantly. That day, I had just gotten home holding a sleeping Lily when I received a call from Robert asking me to pick something up for him at the street corner. I put Lily in her nursery and rushed out. Unexpectedly, Lily woke up and walked out onto the main road by herself. It was a blind spot, so the speeding truck didn't slow down at all. Just then, my father-in-law arrived and saw the scene. He rushed to save Lily, but the truck was going too fast. In the end, both grandfather and granddaughter died in that car accident. After the accident, Robert was furious with me, saying it was all because I forgot to close the yard gate when I went to get the item, which led to everything. I also fell into self-blame, doubting if I could be a good mother. My little Lily, my lovely Lily, was run over and killed by a large truck right before my eyes. How could I possibly have the courage to have another child? Even if I did, could I take care of them? But Robert and mother-in-law Eleanor quickly moved on from the shadow of that car accident and started pressuring me to have a child. Lily's adorable face remained deeply imprinted in my mind, impossible to shake off. Unable to fulfill mother-in-law Eleanor's wish to have another child with Robert, I entertained the idea of adoption. Just then, I suddenly received a text message. "Do you want to know the truth about your daughter's car accident? Come to the Hideaway Cafe at 3 p.m. Don't tell anyone." I finally made it to 3 p.m. and arrived on time. But I was stunned when I saw who was there. It was Ashley. "What does your text message mean? What do you know? The culprits who killed your dog. Her are Robert and your best friend, Tiffany." Ashley didn't keep me in suspense. "You're lying. Robert is Lily's father. What reason would he have to hurt her?" Ashley gave a cold laugh, as if mocking my naivety. Then she took a voice recorder from her bag. "Listen to this." After a rustling sound, Robert's voice came from the recording. "Mom, stop making things difficult for Nicole. We're living in her house, and I have a batch of expired medical equipment piled up in the warehouse. The company is having financial problems now. I need her to help me." "But she killed your father," mother-in-law Eleanor's shrill voice came through. "That has nothing to do with her," Robert shouted. "I was with Tiffany in the bedroom. I had to get Nicole out of the way so Tiffany could get away. She left in such a hurry, so the door." "You're still seeing that vixen? She killed your dad, you." Mother-in-law Eleanor started yelling and hitting Robert. "All right, wasn't it because you wanted the money Nicole's parents left her that you insisted I marry her? Besides, the one who died wasn't my real dad anyway. He wasn't healthy to begin with, and now that he's dead, you don't have to take care of him. What a sin, and my poor granddaughter. We can have another child. Don't dwell on this. We need her money now." Robert's cold voice came through. My heart felt like it was being fiercely squeezed by a large hand, the pain so intense I couldn't breathe. So this was the truth. After my daughter died, I lived like a ghost. Guilt, like a crushing mountain, weighed down on me, making it hard to breathe every day. But the real culprits who killed my daughter felt no remorse, and were even juggling multiple lovers at the same time. Robert, I only wanted a divorce before, but now, I want you to suffer a terrible fate. Are you all right? You look terrible, Ashley said, looking at me worriedly. I didn't say anything, just shook my head. Ashley snorted. Oh, right. Tiffany contacted Robert a few days ago saying she couldn't find a Van Cleef Arpels platinum earring and asked him to help look for it. She said the earring was an anniversary gift from her husband, and if she couldn't find it, they'd both be finished. I suddenly remembered the earring Sarah had given me today when I passed by the old house. I looked at Ashley. Why are you telling me all this? Ashley scoffed. Robert is such a piece of trash. Before you came home, he was calling me darling and holding me. After you got home, he told me to jump out the window. That's 5 floors up. And his mother called and said she wasn't going to have the baby and wouldn't pay me the rest of the money. Well, if I'm going down, I'm taking them with me, Ashley said fiercely. After saying goodbye to Ashley, I anonymously mailed the earring to Tiffany's husband, Mark. I also included a note, keep your wife on a tighter leash. Her earring was found on our bed. As far as I knew, Tiffany married Mark, the owner of a chain of private clubs, a year ago. And he was short and known in the city for his ruthless methods. Soon I received a desperate call from Tiffany. Nicole, help me. Mark is going to kill me. Then Mark's cursing could be heard through the phone. You slut. I give you food and clothes and entertainment, and you cheat on me. You whore. Since you're willing to sell yourself, I'll introduce you to some clients. You can even make me some money. Nicole, save me. Don't come alone. Bring Robert. I'm afraid you'll be in danger. Tiffany struggled to finish speaking before the call was cut off. Bring Robert? I sneered. He probably doesn't have time right now. Because I had just reported Robert to the authorities. Robert's company warehouse had a large stockpile of expired medical equipment. Not only did he fail to destroy it, but he planned to profit from it. Those were things meant to save lives. How could he dare? Soon, I received a call from mother-in-law Eleanor. Nicole, where are you? Why aren't you answering? Robert was taken away. I hung up the phone coldly before she could finish. Now, I was going to watch the show at Tiffany's. When I arrived at the private club, Tiffany was lying on the ground, her clothes disheveled and her face covered in bruises. She looked like she had seen a savior when she saw me, but her eyes filled with disappointment when she saw I was alone. Nicole, why did you come alone? I told you to call Robert. I was afraid Mark would hurt you, Tiffany said, struggling to prop herself up and looking up at me. Robert is busy. A major client of his company, Mr. Harrison, is having some troublesome family issues. What could be more important than what's happening to me? Tiffany clearly didn't believe me. I looked at her coolly. Mr. Harrison cheated, but he got tired of the woman soon after and wanted to dump her. So he stole the woman's wedding ring during a date and secretly mailed it to her husband. I watched Tiffany's face turn from red to white as I continued. That woman, though, was loyal. She was beaten half to death by her husband but didn't give him up. But when she went to Mr. Harrison for help, he turned his back on her. He said the woman was too loose, dating multiple people. He threw all sorts of dirt on her. I really feel sorry for that woman. I watched Tiffany's expression with amusement. Tiffany's face had completely lost its color. She bit her lip and trembled as she asked, and then? She died. Driven to despair by her husband and lover, she jumped off a building. When the police investigated the cause of death, they followed the leads to Mr. Harrison, and his wife found out. Now they're getting a divorce. He told Robert that woman was bad luck. Good riddance, she died, ruining other people's families. Tiffany, why do you think that woman would do something so foolish? After hearing this, a layer of fine cold sweat appeared on Tiffany's furrowed brow. She went completely limp, gradually collapsing onto the ground. Oh, Tiffany, why are you so hurt? Did your husband do this? Do you need me to call the police for you? I asked, pretending to be concerned. It's nothing. Mark should be back soon. You should go, Nicole. All right, I'll leave then. Robert is waiting for me. With that, I glanced at Tiffany, who was like a dog on the ground, and turned to leave. After returning home, I started reviewing the surveillance feed carefully. After my daughter and father-in-law died, I was constantly depressed and developed a habit of sleepwalking. One night, I woke up at dawn standing on the rooftop, ready to jump. To keep Robert from worrying about my condition, I found a therapist myself. The therapist suggested I install surveillance to record my actions while asleep. I never expected it to be used for this. Going through the surveillance feed, I discovered that the day after Robert urged me to go back to work, he got together with Tiffany. At that time, Lily's body was still cold, and these two murderers were shamelessly rolling around together. If Nicole finds out that gate was left open because of us, we can't let her know. The surveillance is broken. The dashcam on the truck shows the whole process. Who cares who left the gate open? At Lily and your dad's funeral, I looked at Nicole and she was like a ghost, so light, like she could faint any moment. What? Feeling sorry for her? Robert looked down at Tiffany. No, I was thinking she must be really bony in bed. Tiffany giggled foolishly after saying that. Robert then rolled over and hugged her. Then let me see if you're bony. Watching the shameless and cold-blooded pair, hatred and fury erupted like sparks. Ring, ring, ring. The phone rang. Emily, Robert's secretary, said anxiously, Ms. Davis, you need to come to City General Hospital quickly. Mr. Harrison was taken for investigation by the FDA right after he got out. He was beaten up and is now in the emergency room. His mother also fainted. I hung up the phone with a cold laugh. The show was starting. When I arrived at the hospital, Emily said Robert had been knocked unconscious and mother-in-law Eleanor had been taken to the room next door. Why didn't you call the police? Mr. Harrison's last words before he passed out were absolutely not to call the police, Emily whispered, pulling me aside. Also, Ms. Davis, this is the video of the beating. Take a look. I took the video. Tiffany stood beside Mark, her face bruised and swollen. Two of Mark's henchmen threw punches, each one more brutal than the last, targeting Robert's vital points. None of the employees dared to step forward, watching as Robert groaned in agony from the beating. They continued for a full 30 minutes before swaggering away. The dog-eat-dog drama was indeed exciting. My poor son. Nicole, why did it take you so long to get here? Your husband. Mother-in-law Eleanor, who had apparently woken up at some point, threw herself at me, weeping and sniffling. I frowned in disgust at Robert's mother, about to speak. This is a hospital. If you want to cry, do it outside. A stern, magnetic voice came from behind me. David, is that you? I turned and saw my childhood friend, David, greeting him with delight. David's somber, handsome face instantly brightened. Nicole, what are you doing here? Her husband is in the emergency room, of course she has to be here, Robert's mother blurted out before I could speak. David frowned, looking at me in confusion. Dr. Peterson, the patient is waiting, a nurse nearby urged. Unsure how to explain, I simply said goodbye to David. You go ahead and get back to work. I have things to do too. Let's connect when we have time. After saying goodbye to David, Robert's mother pulled me aside, wiping away her tears. Nicole, do you think Robert will be all right? Why did Tiffany and her husband go to the company to beat Robert? I didn't answer her question, instead asking my own. Tiffany invested money with Robert without telling her husband. But the company wasn't doing well and couldn't pay it back, that's why they came looking for him. Nicole, you have to help Robert. He's Lily's father, mother-in-law Eleanor said tearfully. She still wanted to swindle money out of me. I ignored her and turned to go to the company with Emily. I was going to completely destroy Robert's company and ruin the foundation of his life. On the way, Emily gave me a brief rundown of the situation. The company had been reported for selling expired medical equipment, and the FDA had come to investigate. Although some expired products were found in the warehouse, the quantity wasn't large. So the company was only ordered to rectify the issue, confiscate the expired medical equipment, and find 500,000 yuan. Upon arriving at the company, I started searching for evidence of Robert's bribery. I spent 2 days at the company and even found evidence of the company's tax evasion and false invoicing. But I couldn't find the crucial evidence of his bribery. I stared at the safe in the office that no one could open, lost in thought. Just then, news came from the hospital. Robert had woken up. I hurried to the hospital. As I reached the door of the hospital room, I happened to overhear Robert talking to his mother. "Does Nicole know why I was beaten?" I told her it was a financial dispute, that you owed Tiffany money. We must keep her calm first. The company was ordered to rectify things and find a large sum. This is when we need money. Fortunately, I've been sending money regularly, so it shouldn't be a big problem. Will Tiffany and her husband come act to cause trouble? If it comes out, and Nicole finds out, don't mention that slut to me. She doesn't know which man's house she left her earring in and ended up ratting me out. You're right, she's a vixen, Robert said viciously. What should we do then? After we get Nicole's money, we'll figure something else out. For now, just keep Nicole calm. Hearing this, I unconsciously clenched my fists. Overwhelming rage made me tremble uncontrollably, and I lost my balance, slipping. I expected to fall to the ground, but I was caught steadily. David? Still so clumsy? He smiled slightly. You always tripped over nothing in school, and I always caught you, until you left without saying goodbye. His expression became a little wistful. You certainly remember things from years ago. You really are a top student, I said, pretending not to notice the emotion in David's eyes, and stood up calmly. All right, I need to go in now. I patted David and turned to leave. Nicole, I just wanted to say, even after all these years, no matter what happens to you, I can still catch you. Hearing those words, my heart trembled. Without looking back, I softly said thank you. Then I walked into Robert's hospital room. Wife, you're here. Robert looked at me as if he'd seen money, his face full of joy. I promise the Ashley thing will never happen again. It's also my fault for not being able to refuse Mom, but she's an old woman, and the granddaughter she lost was because of you. He actually tried to use Lily's death to continue making me feel guilty/emotional manipulation. Wife, I was beaten this time because of a financial dispute. Tiffany invested some money with me, but business hasn't been good lately, and I couldn't pay her back on time. Emily told me you went to the company. You understand the company's situation. Wife, are you listening? Seeing that I hadn't spoken since entering the room, Robert asked. Ed impatiently. Remembering my purpose for coming to the hospital, I softened my expression and smiled at Robert. I managed to get an entry pass to a business conference. The attendees are all major company CEOs. Getting some investment shouldn't be a problem. Do you want to attend? Really? I'll check out immediately. Wife, you're the best. Thank you, I'll just. Before Robert could finish, his mother interrupted. You just woke up. The doctor said you need a few days of rest. You just need to show up on the day of the conference. Then I'll leave everything to you, wife. Robert looked at me with a face full of sincerity. It's my company too. It won't do me any good if it goes bankrupt, I said, turning back casually at the hospital room door. Oh, right. Give me the key to the office safe. I need some company documents for the business conference to attract investment. Whether Robert was truly desperate or just lacked vigilance, he hesitated for only a moment before handing me the key. I returned to the company, opened the safe, and finally obtained the evidence that could deliver a fatal blow to him. I had arranged this business conference using the connections my deceased parents had. Besides the industry leaders and reporters, I had also specifically invited Tiffany and Mark to the conference. I was going to expose Robert and ruin his reputation while he was still dreaming of success. On the day of the business conference, Robert rushed from the hospital, even instructing me to dress up and not embarrass the company. Between the two of us standing together, I'm never the one who's embarrassing, I said, looking at him with contempt. Robert was stunned and didn't say anything. I put on the couture gown my parents had left me and stepped into my Christian Louboutin red soles. When Robert saw me dressed up, he was instantly amazed. "Nicole, you look beautiful today." "Do I? Then you should take a good look." "You might not see me again like this," I said with a cold smile. "True. My wife is too beautiful for anyone else to see. I'll just have you wear this for me every day in the bedroom." I scoffed inwardly. He would probably only be able to remember this moment from prison. Robert seemed not to notice my disgust and moved to get closer. I recoiled in annoyance. "Stay away from me. Are you still angry, wife?" "I explained it to you. The Ashley thing was really Mom's idea. I couldn't refuse. Besides, if you hadn't left the yard gate open, Lily wouldn't have." Seeing me pull away, Robert brought up the old topic again. "You don't deserve to mention Lily." I glared at him fiercely, then turned and walked away. "Wife, I'm sorry. I just miss our daughter so much. I'm leaving now. You figure out how to get there yourself." With that, I had the driver close the car door. Upon arriving at the venue, Robert was very excited. He held my hand, chatting with this person and trying to cozy up to that one, until he saw Tiffany and her husband, Mark. "Tiffany, you're here too? Is this your husband?" I asked, pretending to be happy to see her. Perhaps feeling that avoiding me would be inappropriate, Tiffany hooked her arm around her husband, who was a head shorter than her, and smiled. "Yes, this is my husband, Mark." Tiffany forced a smile that was worse than a cry. Her husband, upon seeing Robert, instantly became murderous. "You adulterer! You dare show up here? Wasn't the last beating enough?" he said, grabbing Robert by the collar and punching him in the face. Tiffany shrieked and tried to pull Mark away, which only enraged him further. He kicked Tiffany hard in the stomach, cursing, "You bitch! You dare help him?" Seeing that the reporters around us had taken enough photos, I called security to stop Mark. After all, the real show was yet to come. "Mr. Mark, I was merciful enough not to call the police the last time. You beat him. As for the 500,000 yuan your wife invested in the company, we will return it to you as soon as possible," I said, feigning concern while actually enjoying the spectacle. "What 500,000 yuan?" Mark asked, bewildered. "I checked the company accounts a few days ago and saw that your wife transferred 500,000 yuan to Robert." "What? You didn't know? Then why did you go to the company to beat Robert?" I asked, feigning innocence. "You bitch! You're using my money to help out your lover. How dare you be so cheap, taking money to sleep with men? You're just a vulgar whore." Many people looked at them with contempt, starting to point and whisper. Fire burned in Mark's small eyes, and he kicked Tiffany on the ground viciously. "Mark! Robert! Say something!" Tiffany, who was scrambling away around the venue, her eyes filled with tears, desperately called out to Robert for help. But Robert wouldn't pay her any mind. He grabbed the hem of my dress like a groveling dog. "Wife, listen to me, it's all a misunderstanding." I shook off his dirty hand and threw the intimate photos of him and Tiffany in his face. Smiling coldly, I said, "Are these misunderstandings too?" I glared at Robert and said fiercely, "I wanted your sweet dream to last a little longer, but you disgust me too much." Then I walked to the conference table. "I apologize for taking up your time. I am the organizer of this business conference, and I am also the daughter of Thomas Davis and Mary Davis." I didn't know this was Mr. Davis's daughter. Mr. Davis was an upright and steadfast businessman who donated countless sums and established a fund to support small and medium-sized enterprises. Yes, it's a shame he died in a car accident on the way to a business meeting. I can't believe his daughter is so grown up. Listening to the murmuring audience, I cleared my throat and continued, "When my parents were alive, they taught me to be down to earth. For years, I have followed their teachings. But my husband, Robert, has engaged in tax evasion and bribery and corruption in his business operations." I paused, fighting back tears. "In his personal life, he conspired with his lover, Tiffany, to kill my only daughter. My parents are gone, but they had some connection/rapport with many of you present. I hope you will all uphold justice for me. With that, I bowed deeply to the audience and then displayed all the evidence I had gathered. The screen flashed with evidence of Robert's company's tax evasion, evidence of his bribery, various intimate photos of him and Tiffany, and even footage of him and his mother plotting to steal my money. I have already submitted the evidence of Robert's tax evasion and bribery and corruption to the police, and they are on their way. As for Robert and Tiffany's affair, which led to my daughter and father-in-law's death because they forgot to close the gate, I want to leave this to the reporters present. Perhaps the law cannot give them the punishment they deserve, but I hope public opinion will never let them off the hook. In the audience, Robert's face was ashen, trembling like a sieve. He stared at me blankly. Reporters quickly surrounded him and Tiffany before the police arrived. Do you have any defense against Ms. Davis's accusations? Mr. Harrison, you had an affair with Ms. Tiffany, which indirectly led to the death of your daughter and father. Do you feel any guilt at all? Ms. Tiffany, as the third party in this marriage, you killed Ms. Davis's daughter while having an affair. Do you have any defense? Robert lowered his head and remained silent. Tiffany had nowhere to hide from the contemptuous stares of the crowd. Mark pushed through the crowd, beating and cursing the adulterous couple. Siren sounds approached, and the interviews had to end. But the trial of Robert and Tiffany had just begun. In a daze, I thought I saw David in the crowd, but when I got closer, he was gone. Only 2 staff members were talking in hushed tones. Ms. Davis is really pitiful, married to such a husband. I know, right? I think I just saw Chairman Peterson's son, David. This conference was silently supported by Mr. Peterson. Otherwise, Ms. Davis couldn't have invited so many business people and reporters just by using her deceased parents' names. Is there a story between Ms. Davis and Mr. Peterson? They say they used to be lovers. Hearing this, I didn't say anything and quietly left. After investigation, Robert was found guilty of tax evasion and bribery and corruption. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison and all his illegal gains were confiscated. As for his affair with Tiffany and the indirect death of Lily and my father-in-law, it did not constitute a crime from a legal standpoint and could only be condemned by the force of public opinion. The case topped the trending lists for days through media reports, becoming almost universally known. Tiffany's address and phone number were also doxed. Many of her classmates and friends came forward to accuse her of being a serial homewrecker and having multiple abortions. These comments, true or false, ruined her reputation. And Robert's mother was also exposed by netizens. Unable to bear the harassment, she had to hide in a small town to avoid the spotlight. I went to visit him in prison and also got a divorce. Through the glass, Robert stared at me with bloodshot eyes, demanding, "Why won't you just let me go? We could have had another child and lived happily." Have another child? I sneered at Robert. You have no heart. You killed our daughter, and not only did you feel no guilt, but you kept using it to manipulate me, making me live in endless regret and self-blame. Someone as selfish as you, are you fit to be a father? On the way back, I made a point to see Tiffany at the private club. She was wearing a skirt that barely covered her backside, weaving through the crowd selling beer. Not far away, Mark was watching her every move. Many people looked at her with contempt, pointing and whispering behind her back. That's the wicked woman. She cheated and killed someone's daughter and father. I wouldn't dare drink the beer she sells. What if it's poisoned? How can she still show her face? Absolutely shameless. The people around her started escalating from judgmental looks to verbal attacks, but Tiffany endured it silently, not daring to speak. Until someone took out a camera and started taking photos of her. No! Tiffany tried to stop them but was brutally slapped by Mark. You bitch! The customers can do whatever they want. Do you really think you're the boss's wife? You're just a whore who caused deaths. Lying on the ground, Tiffany saw me and turned her face away. What, ashamed to be seen? I walked over and looked down at Tiffany on the ground. Ha 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 ha. Hearing my words, Tiffany on the ground started laughing hysterically. So what if I'm ashamed to be seen? I'm still alive, but your daughter is dead. What can you do to me? She said, laughing as she got up, shouting like a madwoman, ignoring the people around her. I scoffed, my eyes icy cold. Your parents have disowned you, and you'll be tied to Mark for the rest of your life. He'll make you sell beer, entertain customers, and call you a bitch and a whore. I whispered into Tiffany's ear. Oh, right. You like Van Cleef Arpels platinum earrings, don't you? The one that fell under the bed at the old house is probably the last one you'll ever own. I looked at her with contempt. That earring! You sent it, didn't you? And then you deliberately told me that story. Tiffany's eyes blazed with hatred. I sent the earring, but Robert cheating on you during your date wasn't something I instructed. Someone who doesn't even love his own daughter, do you expect him to love you? I sneered, further provoking Tiffany. He told me in prison that the thing he regretted most was getting involved with you. He also said you were a tramp, shamelessly seducing him. He even told me to wait for him to get out and live a good life with me. Hearing this, Tiffany suddenly lost control, her face turning savage. She lunged at me. She raised a sharp knife she had gotten from somewhere and lunged. Just then, David appeared from nowhere, quickly shielding me. But he couldn't completely avoid the crazed Tiffany. The knife pierced through David's hand and into my abdomen. Instantly, blood stained the ground. She was quickly apprehended by the arriving police and taken to the police station. I was injured, and David's hand could no longer hold a scalpel. I sued Tiffany for intentional assault, and she was eventually sentenced to 10 years in prison. With this, everyone who had harmed my daughter had received their deserved punishment. Stepping out of the courthouse, I finally felt an overwhelming sense of relief. Facing the reporters who had been waiting for a long time, I said gratefully, "Thank you to everyone who cared about this matter. Thank you to the law of our country. Thank you." After saying that, I bowed deeply to the crowd and walked towards David, who was standing behind them. Everything is settled. I'm going up the mountain to see my daughter, Lily. All right, David said, taking my hand. I want to see the daughter Nicole protected with her life. That day outside the hospital room, I heard your conversation with your parents. I gently squeezed the hand wrapped in bandages. That day, I was rushed to the hospital emergency room. After waking up, I was eager to see David. I had been determined to provoke Tiffany so she would rightfully face legal consequences. But David was innocent. At the hospital room door, I heard David's parents say with heartache, "You finally came back after studying so hard, and now you're the youngest chief physician." Nicole, it wasn't enough that she brought bad luck to her parents, we thought everything would be over after she got married. But after all these years, you're still indulging her madness. Enough, Mom, David said sternly. I don't care how much Nicole leaving without saying goodbye years ago had to do with you. But my love for her hasn't changed. As long as I can be by her side, it doesn't matter if I can hold a scalpel or not. He paused. Besides, I'm not the same person I was before. Now I have enough ability to protect her. She smiles just like you. My thoughts were pulled back by David. Looking at my daughter's smile, forever captured on her headstone, tears streamed from my eyes. Lily, this is the greatest punishment Mom could give to the bad people. My good girl, next time you're choosing parents in heaven, make sure to choose carefully. I placed the white roses I held and wiped away my tears before leaving. After returning home, I received a package. It was from Lily's kindergarten teacher. Inside were Lily's personal belongings from kindergarten and the teacher's notes on Lily's daily life there. Lily, what's this? Can you tell Mommy again, and I'll record it, the teacher asked, pointing to a small pink birthmark on her arm. It's a medal I got for beating the other kids. Why did you beat the other kids? Because the other kids wanted to be Mommy's daughter, but I only want Mommy to be my mommy alone. When I was in heaven, I already chose my mommy. To become her daughter, I beat all the kids who wanted to be her daughter. It was really hard getting here. Lily said, looking up at the camera with a smile. Okay, I've recorded it for you. I'll tell your mommy later how hard you worked to become her daughter. At the bottom of the box was a small card with something written in shaky handwriting. I want to go play with Mommy somewhere warm and sunny. Mommy says winter in the north is too cold. Seeing this, my grief was indescribable, impossible to release. It felt like my entire body, from head to toe, was being slowly crushed by a giant stone wheel. David stood behind me, holding my shoulder, not saying anything. David and I sold our property and took the money to a warm coastal town. I hoped the sunshine there could shine into my heart. We donated money to renovate the school there and stayed to teach. Teacher, they say you're from the big city. What's the outside world like? The outside world is wonderful. If you study hard, you'll be able to see it. And teacher, who is this? This is teacher's daughter. Where did she go? Why didn't she come with you? She went to heaven. I don't know if she's working hard to become someone else's daughter right now. She's definitely waiting for you, teacher. You have to keep going, a little girl with eyes strikingly similar to Lily's said with a smile. I smiled, wiped away my tears, and hugged them close. The days passed, full and happy. One sunny afternoon, the children in my class covered my eyes and led me to the creek. When I removed the ribbon covering my eyes, I saw David standing among the children, wearing a white shirt and holding white lilies. He stood on the other side of the creek, smiling at me. The sun shone on him, as if we were back in the afternoon we first met. I walked towards him. As I reached the stone bridge over the creek, I slipped. I watched David sprint towards me from not far away, catching me steadily in his arms. I told you, no matter what happens, I can catch you. Nicole, marry me. In his warm embrace, I nodded.